Welcome to the Manufacturing Matters podcast with the Council of Industry. Join us as we bring you inspiring stories, interviews, and insights from across the Hudson Valley that will revolutionize the way you think about manufacturing. This podcast is proudly sponsored by PKF O'Connor Davies, a leading accounting and advisory firm dedicated to helping businesses thrive in the manufacturing sector. With their industry knowledge and strategic guidance, PKF O'Connor Davies ensures that manufacturers have the financial insights and support they need to achieve success.
Oliver Stauffer, CEO of PTI. Welcome to the Council of Industry podcast.
Harold, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
So PTI, tell us about the company. What do you guys do? What do you make? Who are your customers?
So PTI stands for Packaging Technologies and Inspection. And at this stage in the company's life cycle, we are only doing inspection solutions for high-risk packaging. And more specifically, we're detecting leakage in high-risk packaging such that the barrier of that package, we know that it's safe and it's good for the end patients or the users. So we're really solely focused on quality control for high-risk packaging. Most of that has to do with pharmaceutical packaged goods, but we're also in the medical device and food industries, and we're focused on the primary barrier packaging. So does oxygen, moisture, bacteria get through that package barrier to the product? And that's what we do today. We've done not a lot of other things. We've been doing quality control and leak testing for the lion's share of this organization's life. But in 2020, we did spin off a division of our company, and that was the packaging division, where we were reselling large-scale food packaging systems from Europe. And so that chapter of our business solutions, that's over, and we're really 100% focused on patient safety, patient quality through package quality.
Can you give an example of that? I mean, I think I saw on the website, something about IV bags, things like that.
Absolutely. You think about any pharmaceutical parenteral product, which is a pre-filled syringe or a pharmaceutical vial, right? That's a drug that's going into your body, right? And it's going into the muscle. And if there's a leak in that container, either product can leak out, oxygen can leak in and oxidize the product, or bacteria can get in there. And so if bacteria gets in and you get injected, you may have an infection of some sort where the injection is. If it's something intravenous, you have just plumbed bacteria straight into your entire circulatory system. So the level of risk is different for every application, but simply put, you have to ask yourself, what will happen to this product if oxygen, moisture, or bacteria is able to get access to it? So if it's a bag of peanuts, those peanuts will go rancid and you'll have a disgusting flavor in your mouth for about 20 minutes after you try a bad peanut. Those are the things you want to prevent. Certainly, we're more interested in saving lives, but protecting the quality of peanuts and coffee is also part of the game.
And the customer, then, it's a broad base of customers across the medical and pharmaceutical industries?
It is. So we're mostly selling into the pharmaceutical space. Medical device is always about 5 years behind pharmaceuticals in terms of their demands, requirements, activities in terms of quality control. So we do sell into, let's say, 25% into the medical device space, and the remainder is food products. And food products, we really only care about the ones that are going to have an impact, right? So think about infant nutrition, baby formula, very high risk application. It's important that that infant nutrition isn't rancid, that the babies can drink it. It's one that we've done quite a lot of work in that area, and that's a high risk space, but it's nutritional or food based.
So you're selling systems that go in that they use on the factory line, or are they post production testing, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, most of our technology is benchtop on, at the production line or in the packaging lab. So it's an at-line kind of solution. Okay. And it's all non-destructive and quantitative. So it's a more higher-end sensory measurement solution. As a company, we are evolving those. So we have developed over the course of the history of our company, we have 6 core sensory technologies, right? And those sensory technologies, you can use them in different applications. And only recently in our company history have we now decided to deploy those sensory solutions in a more automated environment. So that's really the next layer for our company. The next chapter for us is entering into this more automated space. And so whether we work with an integrator that is doing the handling and automation, or we are doing the automation ourselves, that's the next phase for our development as a company. But it's really these 6 technologies, sensory technologies that we developed, and they find themselves in different applications.
So do you work, closely with the customers to design those and integrate them, or is it, basically this is what we have, buy it off the shelf kind of thing, some combination thereof?
Yeah, I think in the company history, early on when we were a smaller company of, let's say, 20 people, and a customer says, "Can you do this?" You're more dynamic. You're more willing to say, "Yes, we can," right? Now that we're 60 people, we have more resources, but we're far more focused in what it is that we actually do want to do.
Okay.
We are past that early inception of the company where you'd say, "Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that." And we dive at opportunity and discover where we end up.
Okay.
We're now a little bit more in charge of our destiny and saying, "This is what we will do." And we do partner with our clients to explore new capabilities and technologies.
It's a little more
but
narrow.
We are, more so, if you ask me, we're at a phase in this company's trajectory where we are optimizing the solutions that we have. We're scaling them into automation. And so we're absolutely going to do some custom engineering. But I think we're more risk averse today than we were 15 years ago when we said yes to most opportunities.
That makes sense. So tell us a little bit about the origin of the company then. You're second generation, is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. So I'm second generation. The company started years ago in the 80s, so we're about to celebrate our 40th anniversary.
Wow, happy anniversary.
And yeah, so my father started it as a trade organization, so trading in the distribution of these leak detection solutions. And as history went on, he began to have his own knowledge and capability of that market and developed the first pressure decay leak test system for the company back in the 90s. And from there, we went from pressure decay to vacuum decay. So then we had 2 technologies. Then we went to airborne ultrasound, a third, high voltage leak detection, force decay, volumetric imaging, helium leak detection. So we've added technologies to the playbook over the years, but it started as a trading organization that began to develop the knowledge and skills to manufacture its own systems.
That's interesting. And so when did you take over as CEO, and is he still involved in the business at all?
Yeah, so my father, he's a board member. I'll see him shortly for a board meeting in the next couple of weeks, but largely has pulled out of the organization. And the transition in any family business is one of the most delicate things possible.
You're not kidding.
It's extremely difficult. And at the end of that process, for all parties and all people to be fully engaged, energized, and satisfied, it's challenging because it's not competing interests, but everyone has a vision for where something should go.
Right.
And at some point, you have to yield your vision to somebody else's. And one day I'll have to yield my vision to somebody else. And so that transition, the more time you can take with it, the more you can give up in that process, the better it is. And so that process for me, I started working here in the company in 2005. I've almost been here for 20 years. And it began with an internship. And I've held every role in this company until 2013, when I was given the title of COO, Chief Operating Officer. And I held that role for about 3 or 4 years. And during that time, it was basically CEO with training wheels. My father would just sort of let me be for a few months. He really would, hang back. And in 2016, I was named CEO. And so it was a long process to train up, to develop, to create the knowledge. And then when you hand those keys to your child, the keys to the car, right? The first time you hand them over, you certainly go driving with them. Right. You're part of that process, and you're guiding them to be a good, safe, and effective driver, right? Same thing for the seat that I'm in.
Right. So did you go to engineering school?
No, I studied environmental science, and so I have a more of a scientific background. Studied economics as well, and German, and other stuff. But my scientific, the broad scientific background is what I brought into an engineering company, and was developing concepts like signal noise ratio and standard deviations to assess the performance of our inspection solutions. So I applied a much more scientific approach to the work that we do, and the engineers, they do their novel work, and I was doing my novel work. And so together, ultimately we had a really great approach to launching and developing the right inspection solutions. And so my background and experience in engineering is purely from being in the space. Yeah. I have no degree in engineering. I can look at something though, and I know when there is a mechanical issue. My knowledge of controls and all of that, again, is purely from the experience of working with and even programming a couple systems. It comes with the territory. Yeah.
So you 60 people. What's the mix? It's fairly heavy on the engineering side. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah. So we're 70 people with our
70,
European
wow.
office. We did acquire an office in Europe, and they were a distribution arm for us, and so they are now part of the company. So we're 70 people. And yeah, the mix is mostly engineers. If I look, even the sales team, the salespeople are engineers, right? There's engineers throughout the organization, but I do have an appreciation for those that have just a good scientific background. So we do have several employees that are just chemies, or they have a chemistry background or some other scientific background, a physics background. And that's very important to the work that we do. They are very much a part of the fabric of this kind of work. So we're not just purely engineers. We do have the scientists. We have other just very practical people with very practical backgrounds that came with more of a skills trade, right? And yeah, I think that's the largest mix is engineers. What I'm really proud of, though, is that I think in the engineering space, so you could have a company, we'd say, okay, there's 70 people. How many women are in this organization? What is the mix? What's the diversity? What's the backgrounds, the ethnicities? And I have to say that on average, I think we're twice the national average for an engineering company in our female to male ratio. So we have twice as many females that are typically in an engineering company. We're also very diverse ethnically. And so these two things, I think, really lend itself to a great company. And what I'm really happy about is also that the women in this organization are actually in engineering roles, right? So it's not something that we've actually actively gone out and done and said we're going to hire women to fill this company. No, it happens to be that that's how it is. But I'm really proud to say that we just happen to have a very strong mix in those roles.
And you feel the benefit of that? We hear a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion, the intentionality of that, because the outcome is presumably more engaged, more involved, more creative, comes from angles.
I will say that this company and no company is better off for having more of one gender than another, right? It's not better to have more of one gender. What is really good, though, is to have a culture that is one of collaboration, one of open-mindedness, one of creativity. And we've all walked into that organization that's very dominated by one demographic, and you'd say, this does not seem like a place that I want to work. Doesn't seem like a place that I'd like to do business with. It seems like there's an overwhelming air of one gender. It's not that kind of place that you really want a collaborative work environment, right? And where you want that work environment. So I'm not going to say that one gender makes something better or not.
No,
but the environment. It's that culture of creativity.
Right. Well, you must be doing something right. I did see that you were honored as one of the best places to work in New York State. I did see that you won one of those awards, and I know that some people might kind of shrug that off, but I think that's really important not just from a morale standpoint for the folks that are there, but from an attraction standpoint. I feel like if you are growing and looking to bring people in, those types of things are indicative of a place people want to work.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. It was really exciting to receive that award, and we received the one for Westchester County the year before. And we just said, look, if we got recognized here in Westchester, why not go for New York State? Let's try it. I don't pay too much attention to what other companies do. We just try to make this place a good workplace. And what I was so I'm proud of the award. What I'm most proud of, though, is we are one of very few manufacturers
Yeah, I saw that
to be included in that list.
Right.
So that was really exciting. You have all these banks and law firms and marketing firms, firms that just have, I don't know if they're flush with cash or what they do, but here as a manufacturing firm, we're producing real goods, real things. So it's one of these things that we just, keep working hard at it. We keep putting our focus on the work environment, and we do recognize that it's the people that make us who we are as a company, right?
I know it sounds a little cliche. I know that everyone kind of says that, but I believe that you believe that, and I believe it is very much true for your company.
Yeah, when you have customers with lots of money and you have great products and all that, you can do whatever you want, right?
Right.
But the moment that you're in rough waters, the moment that there's a challenging time or that you have to really figure out new solutions, it's your team. They are the ones that drive this company. And so having the right team members on the bus, having them all rowing in the same direction, at the same cadence, in the same way, these are all important factors. But it's the people, they ultimately do make it what it is. And so you have to take care of them so they can take care of our clients. We consider ourselves a more premium product. We consider the client experience should be more premium for what we do. And it's important that our team members are able to be there for them.
Right. So I talk a little bit about it. I know you guys relocated to enhance the client experience, right?
Yeah, so we moved from a 7,000 square foot facility. Today we're in 28,000 square feet. So we doubled when we moved to this location, then we doubled again in an expansion 2 years ago. So 4 years ago we moved here. 2 years ago we doubled again. And so, creating a really great work environment, creating the space for our clients to come, building the environment for us to achieve our goals. I think that was a big step for us. And anytime you move a company, it can be a big concern.
Right.
And I think you just have to take that leap of faith. When you know the time is right, you take that leap of faith and invest in the future.
So you've obviously grown substantially. Have you been able to find the folks? We certainly have heard all about crisis in workforce and bringing people in, but have you been able to successfully recruit and retain to your satisfaction?
So absolutely, I don't think any employer in the last few years has been happy with their ability to obtain the right workforce or make sure that, jobs get filled effectively. I think it has been a challenge at times, but as a company, I think when we interview people, we're selling them on the work experience here. And when they show up, we actually double down. We put our money where our mouth is. We do what we say we're going to do. And so, we do have a good, positive work environment. So you have to sell that in that process. And, an engineer will always be an engineer. They're looking for that next best engineering company to work for.
Right.
So me and the other Council of Industry Employers were all, in a way, competing against one another to be the most attractive workplace. My engineers are not necessarily going to go work for a bank or a law firm. They want to apply those mechanical skills or controls skills to the work that we do here. And so I think giving them the right environment, setting the playing field for them that's the most important job for me.
So, that's interesting, kind of an interesting kind of segue here, because I am interested in the technology, but also kind of what's next for the technology. We hear a lot about machine learning. We hear a lot about artificial intelligence, data analytics, and it feels like you are at the heart of that and working with the clients that you are doing the processes that you are.
So, artificial intelligence. So I don't think yet artificial intelligence, it doesn't really exist today in the world. There's machine learning, there's ChatGPT, and so we're continuously exploring the strength or how far machine learning can go. in our space where we're leak testing products that could impact patient safety, these are highly qualified pieces of equipment, and you have to make sure that they perform to the level that they need to perform at, right? So artificial intelligence and dynamic machine learning, dynamic algorithms, they can be challenging for this environment where quality control is very discrete and must have a very high level of assurance. But we are exploring it. And we have one technology, vacuum decay, where we have actually applied a level of machine learning. And I think it's a really cool technology. It should be hitting the market this year, and it automatically sets a pass-fail recipe for any application. It does it very effectively. But the machine learning, what's really cool about it is it actually applies knowledge of prior test cycles. And based on that, the algorithm is able to actually pick up a 5-micron leak in less than 5 seconds. In the past, you would typically need about 30 seconds to pick up a leak of 5 microns. And just to put it in reference, a hair is 100 microns in diameter. So 5 microns is a very small leak. And so this machine learning technology could pick up a leak of 5 microns less than 5 seconds. It's a dramatic improvement.
Right. I was going to say those 25 seconds is a lot of mistake, right?
Exactly.
That's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our sort of exploration into the space of AI, it is opening up some new opportunities. It's opening up new things. Where will we go from here? I'm not yet sure, but the first exploration has in fact proven to be very positive.
Interesting. So there must be so much data that you're collecting as well, and on behalf of these customers, or your machines must be collecting, and hopefully, in some regard, they're using that, or it's being stored somehow.
Yeah. So data collection in our space is really important. Data integrity is something that the FDA writes customers up for all the time.
Right.
And so the data that we produce, we do a lot of, in the last 5 years, we've really developed a lot of more software-based applications to support data integrity and capturing that data, analyzing it. And our engineers are knee-deep in data always to optimize a test method or optimize a technology. So there's definitely, some opportunity for using data, leveraging it, using it to empower the solutions that we have, right?
So I was intrigued by earlier you said that when you were a company of 20 employees and you would say yes to everything, and you've narrowed your which makes a lot of sense, and you kind of focus on the things that are obviously the most profitable, where your strengths are, where you have a competitive advantage. Are there things kind of on the periphery of that you're pursuing? Maybe it's not necessarily yes to anything, but if this is our area that we're looking to focus on, if different opportunities present themselves in that area, is that customers, is it technologies?
So we really focus on, again, the higher risk space. And so as new regulations or new applications pop up, we're paying attention to them to see, is this going to be something that there will be significant demand on, right? And once we say, okay, there could be demand. Is there a sensory, is one of our 6 technologies applicable to solve their concern? And at that point, you can begin the applications research. What can we achieve with an IV bag? Can we do it with a universal test chamber, or does it have to be dedicated? So we do follow market trends, and we listen to what people are doing, and at that point, we can apply the technology to it. As a company, we have also had some, we'll call it mistakes. I'll look at some technologies and say, we had a great idea. We said, this is an awesome technology. Hey, this should work great. It's fantastic. There is a market in Latin America for it. There's a market in Europe for this. It should be interesting. And so we develop it and we show and prove out our capability. And people think, yeah, that's cool. It's neat. But it was just cool and neat. It did not satisfy a true high-risk application that they had. And half of that market, Latin America, does not have the budget for non-destructive qualitative inspection or quantitative inspection of blister packaging. And so when you put the level of risk associated with the risk aversion or in the market space and all of that, we've developed a technology, and there may not be, the customers are not diving over each other
Right.
to purchase that piece of equipment. And the lessons learned, in our business, we won't necessarily have focus groups and get voice of customer and where we can get,
Right.
hundreds of people and understand their preferences. We have to read the tea leaves and
That's
understand
hard.
where's the market going to go? What will the FDA be regulating against? Will this region that packages blister packaging or tablets and capsules and blister packaging, will they actually have an interest in the solution? So, um,
I
yeah.
think you answered the question, but it's you ship internationally. You have clients all over the world.
Yeah, so 50% is domestic, 50% is international. That shifts any given year based on crises that may be occurring, right? But yeah, we're shipping to Asia and Europe and Latin America, and we do anticipate to sell more into some markets. The markets where we sell the most in is where quality control is held at the highest regard.
Right. So we
right?
figured Europe, Japan, those types of places.
Exactly. And even we've had a bunch of products sold into Thailand because they're manufacturing in Thailand for the Japanese market space.
Oh, interesting.
So it can be very dynamic that way, but typically it's where quality of life is of the highest level. That's where we're going to see the greatest level of interest.
And is there competition? I mean, clearly there's competition. You're not the only game in town.
Yeah.
But is there competition or a different subsector for those places, or a different type of testing that takes place in the sectors like Latin America? You mentioned the level of quality isn't the same. Or is there a different market?
So we have both substitutive competitive solutions. So you could do a dye ingress or bubble leak test. Those are very qualitative tests. They're not that accurate. They don't cost you too much, but you're not going to get the right information, right? So those solutions are often used in lower cost market spaces. When it gets to true competitive situations, there are a few companies that do non-destructive leak detection solutions. Most of our competitors are in Europe. We do have a couple here in North America, but most are in Europe. None of the competitors have all the breadth of technology that we have.
Interesting.
So we've spent the first part of our company history to develop those sensory technologies, and we'll spend the next chapter of our company history automating it and improving those, right? Whereas some of our competitors, they picked one technology and automated those, and they have one or two technologies, but they're better at automation. So we have some competitors, each has their own capabilities. As a company, we have a few technologies that are solely unique to us. So something like airborne ultrasound to inspect the quality of seals of flexible packaging. We are the only ones that provide that technology globally. Globally, it's just us.
That's interesting. And from a macro perspective, everyone says pharmaceuticals, medical, it's going to be growing as the population ages. Do you see expansion and growth from that in general?
There's absolutely going to be growth. It comes down to we continue to grow as new package formats, new packaging technologies make it to the market space. So, I think there is absolutely growth. There's more growth that's going to be occurring with increased regulatory oversight. And so as the regulators start to realize this is a test method they've been doing for 50 years, and it may have worked 50 years ago on this one package design or format, it no longer works on these others that are really important. So like a pre-filled syringe, the clients still use.
No one used those 50 years ago.
They didn't use those 50 years ago. Yeah. And they use a dye ingress test to inspect a lot of parenteral products. It works in some cases. Pre-filled syringes, it won't work. But not all regulators realize that. Not all clients realize that. And we're here trying to sound the alarm bell to say, look, there are better ways to do it, but also the way that's being used today is not a qualified method. So those can be delicate conversations, but as regulations start to enhance or there's improved oversight, that's when we can really experience more growth.
Interesting. Well, Oliver Stauffer, CEO of Packaging Technologies and Inspection, PTI. It has been a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Manufacturing Matters, brought to you by the Council of Industry and sponsored by PKF O'Connor Davies, accountants and advisors who understand the unique challenges and opportunities in the manufacturing sector. We hope you gained valuable insights and inspiration from today's discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.